it is not really targeted to sort of, the objective is not really to sort of encourage more inward payments or more inward remittances or anything. It is a facility which we are providing. And it will definitely, the ease of payment for many families, especially senior citizens whose children are abroad and who may be finding difficult to make their payments, either online payments because, not because of unfamiliarity, or in certain situations having to visit some place to make a payment.
So how will all of this work? We thought who better than the NPCI Bharat Bill Pay CEO to tell us all of that. And here she is with us on ET Now on Startup Central, Noopur Chaturvedi. Thank you so much for giving us time. You've had the weekend now to digest that big announcement. I don't know if you were all prepared for the governor going live with that announcement, but tell us a little more. How exactly is it going to work? If UPI is going to be allowed by NRIs to be used overseas to make payments for utilities, education, and all of that, are you ready back end for all of this?
We are still digesting the news, Nayantara, and therefore, at the outset, thanks for having me. And this discussion's interesting. We were not expecting the news to come in. We had submitted our proposal, but the regulator pleasantly surprised us last week. We are still digesting and preparing for it. But having said which, as you might be aware, Bharat Bill Payment Service is not just about UPI. We accept all payment modes. So the facility is much beyond just a UPI acceptance. It is really about the Indians sitting outside of India to be able to make payments across all payment modes and using multiple options that are available via us.
As part of the RBI Governor's announcement, what he had said is that the Bharat Bill Payment System is an interoperable platform for standardized bill payments, that it's already got 20,000 billers that are a part of this system and is going to particularly help the senior citizens. Noopur, my first question to you, it's, when we talk about this, it's not as if NRIs cannot make remittances. India is one of the largest homes to inward remittances. What's different under this platform?
Sure. Thanks for asking that question, Nayantara. You are already aware that we have 30 million plus Indians who are sitting outside of the country. They're working abroad either as NRIs or as PIOs. Now, typically, the way it functions is that they would send a bulk tranche back home, and then it is left up to the family members, be it the aged parents or the wife sitting back in the village, to make the payments across all bills through the month. Now, with this change, they can support the family back in India, not just financially, but also in terms of convenience of not having to run around to make those payments, but rather directly pay towards the loan EMIs, towards the electricity bill payments, phone bill payments, and what have you. So it does add a lot of convenience for the families back home of these Indians abroad. Nayantara.
So Noopur, tell me something. For all of the NRIs, and you're talking about millions of them being overseas, will it now be up to the NPCI to go to different countries, to their banking institutions, fintechs, payment wallets? How exactly is it going to work? Tell us what happens next.
Sure. So Nayantara, the entire transaction will have two components. One is the domestic leg, which is what BBPS will continue to facilitate as it does today. And the other is the international leg. Now, the international leg can work in two manners. One possibility is that the bank that is servicing the NRI outside, it starts making the bill payments available on its mobile banking app, portal, website, etc., for the Indians sitting outside of the country. So for them, it will be an easy facility extended. However, there's another way in which it can work, which is the exchange houses, the money transfer operators, and the banks which are outside of India, they can integrate with the AD1 banks in the country. It is a very simple integration. which they might already be doing in some format or the other, and they can start offering the bill services outside of the country. So we don't really have to go outside, but the entities outside which are willing to give this value-added service to the Indians which are outside of India will have to integrate back with our entity in India.
Okay, so that integration still needs to take place, the backward integration among fintech and across domiciles. But Noopur, you know, and this is a question that many NRIs will want to know and their families back home would be wanting to know. Cross-border payments have been permitted with a special impetus on utilities as well as education fees. Having said that, you know, NPCI has demonstrated to the world how frictionless payments can be. How frictionless will this be, the BPPL, when it comes to cross-border payments? And also, how will you decide important metrics like exchange rates? Will there be commissions, extra fees?
Again, a very good question, Nayantara. Whereas the Indian bill payment system is concerned, we recognize, operate, and pay the billers only in INR. The exchange rate and whether a convenience fee gets charged or not will be as per the existing arrangement. We will not have any incremental charges for the NRIs and PIOs outside of India where BBPS is concerned. So no extra cost to them. The exchange rates as per the existing arrangement, and the convenience fee, again, as per the existing arrangement for them, no incremental charges. In addition to that, the transaction will be entirely seamless. It will operate in two legs. One is you fetch the bill and identify what the amount needs to be paid. This amount can be shown in INR or the currency of origin of the transaction, depending on how that entity chooses to show it. But once the conversion happens, BBPS will receive the money in INR and pay it to the biller in INR without any incremental cost to any of the ecosystem partners, including customers.
Okay, so it all will be in INR. Any commission of the fee will be decided by the bank, the fintech, the wallet, whatever it is that's sitting in the country of the NRI wanting to make the payments. Noopur, you know, you've been candid enough to share with us that all of you were not ready for this announcement on Friday. By when do you see this feature actually going live?
While we were not ready for it, the fact remains, Nayantara, that a lot of exchange houses and the AD1 banks were in continuous conversation with the regulator as well as with us to extend this facility. To that extent, there was a demand, and at this point of time, we are working with all these entities and trying to figure out how soon we can roll it out in the market. I anticipate in the next few months, we should be ready and live with the first set of transactions happening. But then the heavy lifting needs to happen by these entities outside of India. Let's see, I'm as eager as you are to figure out who goes live first.
So Noopur, you know, as I was making this point as well, and this is being documented from the IMF to the World Economic Forum, how inward remittances in India is one of the largest on the planet, across the globe. That is a trend. How big an opportunity is this?
Yeah, you're rightly saying, Nayantara, that India has actually overtaken China and is the biggest beneficiary in the world for inward remittances. And only 80 to 90 billion over the last few years has come into India towards inward remittances. And you would be amazed to know that 45% of this remittance goes towards the purpose of supporting family, for supporting the family in India towards the discretionary spends as well as the non-discretionary spends. Now, you know, looking at these numbers, looking at the fact that every household in the country pays at least 3 bills per month, we think the opportunity is really massive. BBPS supports today 20 plus categories across DTH, mobile bill payments, electricity, water, education, loan repayments, so on and so forth. So we anticipate that with the convenience of BBPS, a lot of these transactions will increase and go towards making payments for the house in India for the Indians staying abroad.
I was speaking with Nikhil, the co-founder of Setu, who has worked with the entire stack. He's worked with Nandan Nilekani on Aadhaar as well. We know his contributions to India Stack too. What he made a case was that this is a watershed moment because the first time ever the RBI is now going to allow banks as well as fintechs overseas to come to India and do a backward integration with more than 80 banks. He said this is why it is a watershed moment. It is perhaps a precursor to many more such arrangements. Has he got it right?
I would tend to agree with him, Nayantara. See, for the fintechs that are into the cross-border payments, for them, it is natural that they will be able to add a business line and provide this as a value-added service to all the Indians they are servicing outside of India. But even for other fintechs like Setu and the others, they can play multiple roles, including making the service available as a TSP to all the entities outside of India. So even for the fintechs not directly having cross-border transactions today, can provide the service for other banks, to exchange houses, to MTOs, etc., and make them live very, very quickly. So it is indeed a watershed moment for all the fintechs that are associated with BBPS and NPCI.
Okay, so we are now all on standby for the launch of this allowing cross-border payments, beginning with utilities as well as for education, announced by the RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das himself. Thank you so much, Noopur, for taking the time out and explaining to our viewers how exactly this is going to work.